problem. Doon the Brae TV, get Michael Kennedy here after Darvel won the Premier League after running out 3-2 winners against Scotland. Finally we got a chance to sit down and speak to you, Mick, after all the media outlets vying for your thoughts and attention on Saturday. Back-to-back league wins, 2 massive seasons for a new manager at this level who only plied their trade in the Armies. And I know when the plaudits are given out, it's all usually about your special group of players, the board, the committee. But as humble as you are, mate, some serious credit has to be apportioned to yourself. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of all the Darvel support when I say that.
Listen, I appreciate that. Ultimately, when I decided to come here, that was the plan, was to bring success to the club and the community. And as you say, we've managed to do that after 2 full seasons, which is a remarkable achievement. But again, for everybody associated with the club, I say we've came such a far distance in such a short space of time, and I don't think MD would envisage that we could have done it so quickly. But it just shows you when you surround yourself with the right people, and they buy into sort of your beliefs and what you're trying to achieve and what's achievable, and we've done that, which is remarkable.
And I just think about every interview since we spoke this season, every single one I think we've reported about issues with injuries, and every single one. And you said you've never known a season like it ever in your managing history. Couple that with a massive fixture backlog and a temperamental playing surface, mate. Some would say that it's probably your task was nigh on impossible. What would you say has been your winning formula?
Belief, mate. Belief. I think going way back to when I started managing the amateurs, that sort of culture, principles, ethos, all the things that I believe is an important foundation in a successful team. I've just replicated that and put that in place here. Fundamentally, that's what today, irrespective of the environment you're at, what level you're at, it's just stick to your own beliefs and principles of how you build football teams. But fundamentally, you then need to get the right people in about it, and a massive part of that has been the players we've brought to the club. In terms of recruitment, we've been very fortunate that when we've brought players in, we've brought the right players in, we've spent a lot of time investing in them, making sure we're bringing guys with the right attitude, right focus, and fundamentally the desire to go and be successful. And I think they're sort of the players, like their sort of character and was questioned why they came to this club, because obviously the noise about the ridiculous sums of money people have been getting to come here. But I think we've seen here the last sort of 6, 7, 8 weeks that you see how much success means to them, being part of this club, part of this community, and how hard they've worked and put themselves through such a rigorous period to bring success to the club. It's remarkable the amount of games they've been through in a short space of time. And as you say, with all the adversity, injuries throughout the season, it's astonishing the number of people who've took long-term injuries as well to some big players up to heart at the middle of the team for months. It's remarkable how we've managed to get through it and get to a point where we'll win the league championship.
And it's funny that you say that, you touch on belief there, because that dovetails into my next question. You speak about hope and belief and togetherness and all those that we talk about, the supposedly unmeasurable qualities. Just how do you go about sprinkling those like through your team and your coaching staff? How do you make sure that these are embedded? And the reason that I asked that is at one point back in January, we were 8 games behind and 21 points behind leaders Pollock.
I think I say this a lot to particularly players. I think when I look at football players, I don't see football players, I see people. And that's always been a massive part of success I've had, that it's important you surround yourself with the right people. And you're doing a life, whether that's football or your personal life or work life, whatever it may be. I think if you can surround yourself with good people with good hearts, who believe in something that's greater than themselves, then I think you've got an opportunity to be successful. And I think that's what we've done. We spend a significant amount of time, we were bringing players here. Listen, I could fill this club 10 times there with players, but we've spent a lot of time due diligence making sure we bring the right people in. And as you see, all these principles we talk about in terms of togetherness, that family spirit, that you embed that in at the very early stages. Then in the moments when you need to drive that belief, when you face that a bit of adversity, people are questioning you outside, even internally as well, some of the fans, particularly through that really bad spell. Last year I'm sure there was murmurs of discontent, fans were a bit disillusioned. But ultimately within the group we had utmost belief that we could be successful, and that comes from being together, it comes from being a tight group, and we've got a really strong relationship with the players from a management and coaching perspective. As I say, the players and coaches need to buy into that as well, and that's been a massive part of the success. It takes a bit of getting used to. But listen, I think everybody who comes into this club and works alongside me, even from a coaching perspective or a player perspective, when everything is about togetherness and family spirit and belief and love and trust and respect, all the things, listen, football's a very macho environment. And when you drive that message all the time, then it takes a bit of adjustment to get used to when that you're asking people to be selfless and put other people in front of them. So all that takes a wee bit of time to people get used to that and work in a different way. But ultimately when they buy into it, there's times where you need it to rely on it and lean on it, and that's what we had to do the last few months. And that's why the group managed to get themselves through it, because all that stuff that we'd driven through them all season about that togetherness came to fruition, and they had to lean on one another to drive one another forward. And they've done a remarkable job to get each other through the campaign to win the league. And ultimately that's what it was, they got each other through it. They would never have done it individually, collectively, they needed one another as a collective group to get through it, and they've done a remarkable job to get there.
Yeah, brilliant, and that's it. It's not just about man managing football players, it's actually about man managing people, and that's fundamentally when you boil it down, that's really what it ends up as, and that's how, as you say, you can fill the club with players 10 times over, but it's filling them with the right players that have got shown the right and display the right characteristics that you want, and not only a football player first and foremost, but as an individual.
I think when you come to this club now, and as long as I'm here, and I'm sure now that's embedded through the football club, that you need to buy into that. It's a non-negotiable, it's a non-option. And if you don't buy into the reality, you won't last the pace, because it is very much like that. And I drive that into people the very first time they meet me when I try and convince them to come here. And when you're in here, it's the most critical, important part. It's more important than success. I think everybody knows me, knows I'm a winner and I want to be successful. There's no absolute doubt about that. You can see that, how much I try and drive standards and expectation, professionalism. But fundamentally, the biggest challenge for me at the start of every year is to look in a changing room and look in players' eyes and say, I've surrounded you with 22 other good guys, and if I do that every day, that's the most important part of my job done. And I told them that at the start of the year, when we recruited well, when we built the squad, I said to them, I've done the most important part of my job already. I've filled this changing room with 22 great guys with good hearts. I know you'll look after one another when you're here, when you're not here, and that's the biggest challenge we'd set ourselves, and we've done that. And everything else after that is a bonus, and we've managed to then build on that and create a successful season for us.
Brilliant. And then obviously we move on to the hard work, because the hard work starts now. Obviously 2 massive games, call them cup finals if you like, in these playoffs. 25th of May we obviously travelled into St Cuthbert's, a nice local one, 2 hours down the road. South of Scotland League winners, obviously decent football inside. Do you know much about them?
I know they've had a really good season. Obviously winners of the South, which had the Challenging League as well. So I think we've had a good opportunity. We've sent somebody down to watch them a couple of times. Hopefully in the next maybe week or so I'll maybe get a chance and opportunity to go down and see them myself. That'll be a definite challenge. When you take everything into consideration as well, you're travelling 2 hours on a Wednesday night, it's no ideal to be fair. But we've got a game to win next week against Southern Meadow. Then after that we've got a cup tie against Cambuslang, so we'll focus on them first. Then when we get to that game on the 25th of May, then I'm sure we're fully prepared for the challenge that lie ahead, but I think it'll be a really difficult task. I know people expect, because we've won the West of Scotland, that this is going to be easy for us. It honestly won't be. There'll be a real challenge to try and get through these 2 playoffs. I've no doubt about that. No, the best teams always win the leagues, as they say, mate. And obviously a couple of days later, massive game again in front of your home fans. And the 28th of May, Trinent or Pennycook. I know that you know Trinent pretty well. We played them obviously pre-season. They gave us a good match, and I know you know obviously Callum Elliott, ex-Hearts, who's the manager up there. I know you'll know quite a bit about them. Pennycook, I'm not so sure. I don't know if you've had your homework done in them. They're obviously pushing hard this season. We've had a look at them as well. Obviously I know Trinent intimately well because we played them at the start of the season. Callum's a mate. We've been in touch with him back and forth all season. They've had a fantastic season as well. Looked like they were out at one point, done massively well, turned it back round. It's going to do it the last game of the season. Obviously a nervy finish for both of them. So that two fantastic teams again. Be a real challenge at home as well against either or, to be fair. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top next Saturday. But as I say, that'll be a significant challenge in itself as well. Yeah,
and it really is going to come down to the wire with the 2 similar tussles to what we've having as well. I think one plays, I think Pennycook play Linlithgow, and I think Trinent plays Swifts. But I think significantly, respectively, 3rd and 4th in the league. So I couldn't have teed it up any better for the last day of the season.
I know, definitely.
So when you come to Darvel, we obviously spoke about a 5-year plan. We've mentioned that way at the beginning in a few of our interviews, Mick. First season promotion, second season cut short with the pandemic, and third this season obviously winning the league with the playoffs looming. The job isn't finished yet. Where would you say you were in respect to that journey and plan?
I think you've always got internal aspirations in terms of what you expect to achieve. I wasn't coming from amateur, I had no real knowledge of this level of football apart from the awareness of who the massive clubs were, like Auckland, like Talbot and your Pollocks and Hurlfords and Cowarrins and all that sort of stuff, and Urban Meadows. So I was very aware of Clydebank and clubs like that. I was aware of clubs at this level, but I wasn't intimately aware of players and stuff like that. So I always knew the first year would have been a real challenge coming into the Championship again, because again you've not got these stellar names in there.
Yeah.
And I surrounded myself with some really good people, and a lot of credit needs to go to people like Stuart Ralston, Kevin McDonald and Biscuit, who had knowledge of this level, who'd been successful at it. Their sort of guidance and stewardship and support at that point was an integral part of that first year's success, and I don't think anybody can forget that. And we've done remarkably well with the Championship. You say second year cut short through COVID, then into the Premier League. Listen, I always believed that we would compete, and I'd expected to compete for the start for day one. Whether we were going to go win the league or not was another, because there's so many things that you need to go your way to feature to make that happen. But I always knew deep down that we'd got the recruitment right, and I knew that we could have a really good, successful season. And I expected to win the league. But there was so many other teams I'm sure expected to win the league as well. So I thought in terms of where we are, this is where I expected to be. If I'm being honest with you. That's the challenge I set myself when I came here. I said that at the very outset, that I wanted to get the club to be, at that point we were in the juniors still, that I wanted to be the top team in the juniors within 3 years in terms of winning the league. But in a strange way, we've only won one league title, and at this level in terms of the Premier League. So there's a lot of work still to be done, and I think people need to understand that. I certainly don't think we've arrived. I certainly don't think that we're at that level yet where you're the same stature of club as American Park. That takes,
can't be quoted anywhere near that yet. No,
that takes success in a number of years and dominance in a number of years. That's why clubs like Auckland Lake are held in such esteem, because of the success they've had in a number of years. But it's so hard to win the league at this level. You look at some of the clubs I mentioned, like Talbot have dominated. I mean, there's been a year or two here, maybe one or two have won the league, but they've come back and been so strong. So it's a remarkable achievement to win the league. And I think I remember saying this as well. I don't know if it started the season. I said it in an interview. We had to take our focus away from worrying about Auckland Leg and concentrating on Auckland Leg. Because if you remember, at one point in January, we were sitting 6 in the table. There was 5 other teams, or 4 other teams in between us. So
it only took them 2 points for a possible 15 at that point. It was sticky.
So my plan was never to be better than Auckland Leg. My plan was to try to be better than everybody else. That was the plan. And we've done that this year. But as I say, that's part of the plan, it was part of the strategy. We need to keep pushing on, we need to keep being ambitious, we need to set better standards, we need to keep driving the club forward on and off the park. We certainly can't stand still in any way, shape or form. And I think you know me by now that, that's not going to happen. Well, I certainly wouldn't allow it to happen anyway. So we just need to keep pushing forward, be gracious and humble that we've managed to win the league, but also be aware of where we are and we're trying to strive to and get to. And we've certainly know, if MD's run about me thinks that we'll arrive, then they'll be quickly remembered that.
I was just about to say that. If there's one thing that I know well enough about you is you'll keep us grounded, and that goes for everybody in this single football club.
Aye, 100%. Like when I woke up on Sunday morning, my head's already on winning next Saturday, trying to win the Commonwealth Cup, winning these playoffs, so already thinking about next season. Listen, you can't stand still. You need to keep pushing forward, keep driving forward. Because when you think you've arrived, then somebody comes and catches you quite quickly. So we just need to keep working hard, as I say, be humble, be gracious, and be grateful as well for what we've achieved. Very fortunate, but there's loads and loads of work still to be done to get us where we want to get to.
So looking forward rather than behind, we obviously the league at the road, finally, as we always do. What's your message to the fans as obviously we're facing these mighty playoffs?
Get behind us, stand side by side by us. Listen, Saturday was a remarkable day in Darvel. Not only just in terms of bringing success to the club, but getting in the town and spending time with people. You sort of see what it meant to them. Had a fortunate time as well, just to sit with some people having a beer in a couple of pubs and chatting away about what the club's meant to them this year, but we've managed to bring in terms of success. I think when you look at, I suppose, society these days, but certainly small towns like Darvel as well, you need something to bring people together. I think community's gone really in a lot of instances now, simply because of the way the modern models become. Like, I remember growing up in the East End of Glasgow in the Carlton many years ago, and you didn't have anything but community. But as world's moved on, and I don't know, the last 30-40 years, social media, you can watch, there's so many opportunities to stay in house instead of going out and socialise people. So what this has done is create a beacon to bring people together. And I think that's what I enjoyed so much about Saturday. It was the enjoyment of winning the league and the relief of that, but just seeing the community together and in the pubs, everybody out celebrating, singing and dancing, that was a remarkable thing to witness. It was such a humbling experience as well. I think that's one of the things I've loved so much about coming to this level of football away from amateur. You've got such success at that level, but you don't really have the community behind you. It's a different thing altogether. And I've been so fortunate that they've backed us so much. I mean, they've come out the numbers for, I can remember first coming here, and the numbers weren't particularly great,
yep.
But what I've managed to do is create some foundations for them, get a bit of belief, a bit of hope, and allowed them to dream a wee bit, and then they've come out the numbers and slowly backed us as we've moved through that journey. And the league on Saturday's the next stage of that. Again, you're hoping Saturday kicks on again, they go home and tell their neighbours and their cousins and their brothers about the day they had down there, everybody's singing and dancing, and they continue to back us, because we'll need them come the end of the season, but we'll need them as the season progresses forward, because as you say, we've got a plan in place and we want to try and work through that as quickly and aggressively as we possibly can.
Right, and I think that's important, because as full time beckoned on Saturday, when you look round at some of the older generation with tears on their face, I don't think they'd ever realise that they would see this Doon the Brae again in their lifetime. I think the town's never been as busy since it's 1975-76 when Darvel were runners up against Bo'ness, so you've done a fine job. So, no, thanks for your words, and all the best in the playoffs.
Cheers, mate.